We have made it to roughly the halfway point here in Season 3 of the San Francisco Giants franchise here on MLB The Show 24. And obviously this season's been a big success for us as we're currently 48-30. Today we are going to get closer to the All-Star break and closer to the draft. Speaking of, we're finally going to take our first look at this year's draft class, looking at some of the pitchers within this year's crop. Then next episode we're going to look at the hitting prospects, and the following episode will be the draft itself. Let's look at where the rest of the league stands here at the halfway point as the Braves lead the NL East. The Cubs lead the Central. They've won 6 in a row. And we'll get to see Chicago for the first time this year with a 4-game set at home later today. In the West, we are tied with the Dodgers now, who have struggled, having lost 7 of their last 10. The Dodgers currently hold the tiebreaker, so they are technically still in first, which would make us the number 1 wild card. And we're roughly 7 games ahead of the Pirates, who are the first team out. So we're pretty comfortably in the mix for, at worst, a wild card spot right now. The American League, like last year, is a lot worse, but a lot more competitive than the NL. The Rangers had the best record in the AL at 44-32, which, to put in perspective, is like 3 games behind us, and we're only a wild card team. The NL is very top-heavy, and the AL seems to be a little bit more deeper, which was the case last year and seems to be the case again. Tommy Rogers, by the way, ditched the goatee. It seems like a few of you guys in the comments thought he looked like an uncle, which I kind of agreed. So he's going to be growing something. Hopefully it looks good by the time we get to the All-Star break. That way he'll have some aura. The rest of the lineup, of course, has been very up and down. Statistically, we've been, I would say, an above-average offense this year, but I feel like offensively we've been really inconsistent on a game-by-game basis. Obviously, the pitching, particularly the rotation, has been a big strength. We have the best rotation in baseball, the lowest team ERA, and we're either first or second in pretty much every major pitching category. It's not just that these guys have been productive, though. It's that they're giving us a lot of innings. Logan Webb, second in the NL in innings pitched. Aaron Savale's third. Kyle Harrison's 10th. Robbie Ray's in the top 15, and Mason Miller is in the top 30. In terms of pitching WAR, Aaron Savale is in first. And by the way, Jung-Hoo Lee leads in batting WAR. He's tied for second in all of baseball behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr. While we're on the subject of how good these pitchers have been, Jung-Hoo Lee has also been unbelievable. I feel like we really haven't talked about him a ton this year because the expectation has been high. But he is hitting .364 right now and leads all players in the National League in WAR. Lee will most likely start in the All-Star game, and he's currently tied with Brian Reynolds for the batting title. He probably won't be our only All-Star, though. Hopefully we're going to have 2 or maybe even 3 of our starting pitchers make the game. But as good as the rotation's been, the bullpen, especially last episode, was really not good. In this game against Detroit, we were up by 7 going into the bottom of the 8th, and we lost. The very next day, we were up by multiple runs going into the bottom of the 8th. The bullpen blew it. We tied it in the 9th, and then the bullpen blew it again. A few games later, against Cincinnati, Logan Webb gave us 8 scoreless just for the bullpen to completely throw it away. So much so that I felt like I had to make a move. We traded Jordan Hicks to Toronto for Kevin Gausman and Brennan Davis. Both Gausman and Hicks are negative assets because of their contracts, and both of them have been abysmal this year. They each have $22 million left total, but Hicks is spread out over the next 2 years, whereas Gausman is making more money now. We're going to have to pay him more this year, but it gives us more financial flexibility in the offseason. Nonetheless, Gausman and Hicks have both been abysmal, and they're hoping that a fresh change of scenery will do them well. We are going to make a few more roster moves, though, to the pitching and the hitting. I wanted to spice things up a little bit. Keaton Winn has been consistently productive for us since the start of this series, whether it's in the majors or in AAA. He was really good in the big leagues last year. He's played well in AAA when healthy. He's going to get called up, and Brian Baker, who really hasn't been very good this year, will be sent down. Baker was acquired basically for scraps in an offseason trade with Baltimore. I think he's got to go down to AAA and get his stuff fixed. Luis Toribio has had a solid season in the minors. Nothing spectacular, but he will be coming up. He's gotten limited big league action over the last couple of years and has been really bad. So hopefully he's able to turn it around and show us something and potentially stick on the roster. We're also going to call up outfielder Trevor Larnach, who as well has had a pretty good season in AAA. He's also had very limited time in the big leagues over the last couple of years, but if he plays well, he'll be up here longer. These should have been Kyler Rodriguez's roster spots, but he was up in the majors last episode and he really struggled. So for now, he's going to stay in the minors. We're going to obviously have to send down 2 players, the first of which being David Villar. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't really been good either. I think the players we're calling up are better. He's out of options, but I don't anticipate he'll be picked up on waivers. The other guy we're going to send down might be a little bit more of a surprise, but it is shortstop Marco Luciano. He is no longer a regular starter. Liover Peguero has taken over his spot full-time as the regular shortstop, and he's earned it. Projected to finish with a WAR around 5. He has not cooled off since his hot start this year, whereas Marco Luciano has not taken the next step offensively. He hasn't necessarily been bad at the plate. That's not the main reason why we're sending him down, but it's not like he's been great offensively, and if he was hitting the ball well and taking a leap up, then he would be sticking around. The biggest issue with him, though, is his defense. He has been abysmal at short. Over the last 2 games, he's gotten 3 separate errors. He is 10 on the season, which is tied for the lead in all of baseball, and he's tied with first basemen who are touching the ball way more than him. He's also only played half as many innings as these guys. Luciano has been legitimately the worst defensive player in Major League Baseball this year, and his offense has not made up for it. He needs more regular, everyday reps in AAA, and I hate to use his last minor league option, but I don't think we have a choice. He hasn't been good for us this year in the big leagues, and I think giving him more reps in the minors will do him well. And if he continues to struggle, then he might be trending towards becoming a bust, unfortunately. We're going to simulate our next 5 games, 2 on the road in Seattle, 3 on the road in Kansas City. As Carson Whisenhunt fractures his wrist, he'll go on the 60-day IL. This is certainly unfortunate. Whisenhunt is a big-time pitching prospect in our organization. He was a starter in the big leagues during the second half of the season last year, and I thought he was pretty solid, but he's had a hard time consistently staying on the field due to injury. His durability rating isn't even bad, but I think he's gotten a serious injury in all 3 seasons of this series. So let's hop into the second game here of this series against Seattle. We won the first, looking for the sweep, and the bases are loaded. I don't know why Kevin Gausman is in such a high-leverage situation, so we're going to take him out for Aniel De Los Santos, who's like the only reliever on this team who's been good in the month of June. Him and Duvall have played well. Everybody else, for the most part, has stunk. Here's Ozuna. Hits it high and deep and a left. Ramos at the track. It's gone! A grand slam for Marcell Ozuna! Yes, it's Ozuna from the Mariners. If you know, you know. His 13th of the year. A salami for Seattle. They lead 6-4. So De Los Santos comes out of the bullpen and immediately allows the slam for the Mariners. Jahmai Jones looks to keep it going. Back at the top of the order. This one's in the gap. It one hops off the wall. Lee gets to it quickly, but not before Jones is going to look to try to head for third, and he's safe. I don't know what was worse, the decision to have him go to third or the throw by Jonathan India. He would have been out by a mile if the throw from the cutoff man India hadn't been horrible. And because of that, Seattle should score a run here off of the sacrifice as Polanco hits it well into right. Run scores. He would not have scored, though, if not for the horrible play by Jonathan India. That'll bring up Julio Rodriguez. He's ahead 2-1, and J-Rod dribbles it to first. Murakami will tag the base. Seattle gets 5. They lead at 7-4. The bullpen blows another one, but the offense gets back in it. Jonathan India makes up for his mistake with a 3-run blast. We're tied at 7, bottom 9, 2 on, 2 outs. Can Genesis Cabrera get out of the inning against the catcher Harry Ford? He grounds it to short. Peguero makes the play. We're going to extras. Knotted up at 7. The offense would be in business again. RBI double for Lee. RBI single for Crawford. RBI double for Soler. But Seattle would get 2 of their own with a 2-run shot by Jahmai Jones. Jorge Polanco would then reach base, so the tying run is aboard. The winning run is up. It's J-Rod. He hits it into center for a base hit. Polanco goes for third. J-Rod's going to go for second. Bad decision by Tommy to throw the ball to third. Heads up base running from Seattle, and the winning run is in scoring position. From there, J.D. Martinez will be intentionally walked. We don't really have to worry about him on the bases because the winning run is on second. The following 2 batters are worse than J.D. Martinez. So that starts with Taylor Trammell. His clutch rating is at 30. And he strikes out on the cutter. Big pitch by Duvall. Looking to get the save. Bases loaded, 2 away, 0-2 for Luke Raley. He puts it on the ground to short. Peguero tags it over to India, and the Giants win this one 10-9 in extras. The bullpen did their best to blow another one, but the offense came through down the stretch. Even some of our best relievers, De Los Santos and Duvall, did not have their best games. De Los Santos allowed the grand slam. Duvall allowed another home run. Duvall had only allowed 2 earned runs all year before the bottom of the 10th, where he let up another one. The defense, again, was not great, though. 2 more errors. Not ideal. Let's hop into this series against the Royals now after the sweep against the Mariners. Logan Webb going for the complete game shutout as Freddie Fermin grounds it to second. Play at first is a lot closer than it should be, but he is out. The offense didn't really play all that well in this game, only 2 runs, but with how Logan Webb is performing, it might not matter. Brendan Drury goes down looking on the sinker, and the game comes down to Hunter Renfroe as the Royals are down to their final strike. The 1-2. Hit over to second. India makes the play. Throw to first is in time. A complete game shutout for Logan Webb, looking to continue to cement his case as an all-star and possibly a Cy Young candidate. Again, the offense wasn't great. Jun-Hoo Lee did have 2 hits. His average is up to 366. We had another error, but the big story was Logan Webb. Aaron Savale wants to one-up him, though. He is a no-hitter going into the bottom of the 7th. Savale wants to remind everybody that maybe he's the Giants pitcher who deserves to start in the All-Star game and be the favorite for the Cy Young. Yaseki Rosario grounds out to first. That'll bring up Bobby Witt Jr. He gets the piece of this one into center, but Tommy Rogers is under it. He'll make the play for the second out of the inning. That'll bring us to the number 5 hitter, that being the catcher, Freddie Fermin. Count is even, 2-2. Swinging a miss on the fastball. Another 1-2-3 inning for Savale, who's 2 innings away from the no-no. Brendan Drury in the 8th. Grounder up the middle. Savale makes the play. Throw to first is in time for out number 1. He's only allowed 1 walk as well, just 1 base runner let up in this game. Here's Hunter Renfroe, the 3-2. Ball 4. Obviously, the no-hitter is still intact, but the Royals do get their second base runner of the game. Scott Burkett, former first-round pick in Season 1, sends it in the gap. The no-hitter is dead, and the shutout might be 2. Rounding third, headed home is Renfroe. He is safe. It's an RBI triple for Scott Burkett, and it's 7-1. That would ultimately end up being the final score, as Savale does not allow another hit the rest of the way. So it's a complete game for Savale. He doesn't get the shutout like Logan Webb did in the previous game, but he only allowed 1 hit the entire way. Which is more impressive, a shutout, allowing a few hits, or allowing 1 hit, but a run? We only had 7 hits, but we did well with guys on base. Soler drives in 4, Crawford drives in 2, Tommy Rogers brings in a run. Tommy's done a good job of runners on base since being called up as Bryce Eldridge breaks his foot. A lot of our pretty good prospects seem to be getting hurt, which is not good. The Yankees offer as a trade here Robbie Ray for Wilmer Flores. There seems to be a real market for Robbie Ray. We've gotten a few offers for him. Flores, obviously the former Giant. I don't think this deal makes sense for us. Flores doesn't really provide us with anything we're really looking for. And again, as I've talked about with potentially trading Robbie Ray, we don't have the contingency plan for him, so it's not really worth it. We would end up sweeping the Royals, winning the last game, so we sweep Seattle, we sweep Kansas City. We have won 9 of our last 10 and are now 53-30. We are officially past the halfway mark, and we're on pace to finish with over 100 wins. In this game against the Royals, we were down 4-0, but came back and won with homers from Lee and Murakami. Mason Miller had a decent start, and the bullpen did pretty good. So that brings us into a huge 4-game set against the Cubs, who are one of the very few teams in baseball with a better record than us. One of the big reasons why has been the signing of Joey Gallo, who was with our team last year. He has an OPS above 1,000. Where was this last season? Gallo is injured, so we won't get to see him in this series, and I think we're going to play the second game. I want to get another look at Robbie Ray. I think I've only pitched with him once this year, so we'll simulate through the first matchup with Kyle Harrison and Shota Imanaga, which we win 6-2. The win streak goes up to 6. Kyle Harrison with a pretty solid start. His ERA is lower than both Logan Webb and Aaron Savale, and he is making a very compelling case to be an all-star as well. I don't remember the last time a team has gotten 3 starting pitchers into the All-Star game, but that is very realistic for us to possibly do. That brings us into the second of 4 here at home against the Chicago Cubs. These two teams pretty much even, and these matchups very well could really determine seeding in the National League playoffs if these two teams are able to hold on to their division lead. Probably going to be a little bit easier for Chicago since they have the better grasp of their division than we do with ours. We still have to fight off the pesky Dodgers, who haven't had a good month of June, but they're still the Dodgers. They're still the favorite. Let's take a look at Robbie Ray, who's been very solid this year, 3.3 ERA, 1.26 whip. Even though there's a lot of interest in him around the league, we're in no rush to trade him. He's an expiring contract that's not going to fetch us great value, but he's had a really good season and is still obviously a very valuable asset to this team for the rest of the year at least as he strikes out Dansby Swanson. Ian Happ up the middle, base hit. Cubs get an early base runner. Chicago's a really balanced team. They've added some solid pieces, but for the most part, they're very similar to the team that they've built up over the last few years. As Nico Hoerner gets this one in the corner, Trevor Larnach getting the start today, misplays the ball, and it's an RBI triple for Hoerner. He's safe. Both Larnach and Luis Toribio played in their first game a couple days ago. They each went 3 for 4. That's why they're both playing here today. As Cody Bellinger grounds it to second, India deflects it. Throw to first is not in time. Run scores anyway. And the Cubs now lead 2-0. Quick start here for Chicago. That'll bring up Andrew Vaughn. He sends that one by the diving glove of India into center field. Bellinger at third. Vaughn looking to head for second. Belly is safe at home. It's 3-0. The Cubs just kept running. The Giants took so long to get that ball in. 14-game hitting streak for Vaughn, who was recently acquired by the Crosstown White Sox. Will Smith now up the middle. India makes the play. Throw to first is in time. But a big start for Chicago. They score 3. Some early run support for their starter, Javier Assad. In his 11th start of the year, he's got an ERA of 4.19, whip at 1.42. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't really been good either. If he was on our team, he wouldn't be a starter, put it that way. Tommy Rogers leads things off, goes down on the slider. Tommy's got to draw more walks. I think that's the biggest thing with him. He hasn't been very disciplined so far at the plate. 1-1, 2 away for Munetaka Murakami. He launches it into center and appears to be pretty fired up. That one is gone, and the Giants are on the board as it is 3-1. It's been an up and down rookie season for Murakami. His 16th long ball of the year. He hasn't necessarily gotten on to Major League pitching as fast as we would have hoped, but he is still a rookie. He is still 25 years old, and I will say I feel like he has certainly taken some strides here in the month of June, particularly with his power, which is obviously the biggest asset of his game, and we see the power in full display there with an absolute piss missile into center field. We got to look at this replay again. 422 feet, exit velo of nearly 105. Blake Sabol now up the middle, nearly deflects off of Assad's head, and that goes for a 2-out single. Sabol has not had as good of a month of June, but he is aboard here, and that brings up Jonathan India. He gets plunked. Another base runner for San Francisco. Big at bat here for Luis Toribio, 3 for 4 in his first big league game of the year, but he flies it into right. It's caught by Seiya Suzuki. Giants on the board, though, with a homer by Murakami, but they still trail 3-1 as we go into the second. Dansby Swanson grounds it to short. Liover Peguero fields it cleanly. Throw to first is in time. Much better inning for Robbie Ray. He retires the side. Let's go bottom 2. Elliot Ramos leads it off, and he gets a piece of this one. Swinging a drive into right center, and that baby is gone. Home run number 10 on the year for Elliot Ramos, and it's 3-2. Ramos certainly has come back down to earth here in the month of June. He's still having a really good season, but unlike Liover Peguero, it seems like he has regressed to the mean quite a bit, but still has earned the opportunity to be a full-time starter for this team. Trevor Larnach now up the middle, base hit. Larnach starts his season 4 for 5. That's more hits than Kyler Rodriguez had in the week and a half he was in the majors. Actually, that's doubled the amount of hits that Kyler had when he was up. And it looks like Larnach will not stay on base as Peguero grounds it right to short for a 6-4-3 double play. That'll bring us into the third. Ian Happ gets things started for Chicago. Base hit and scored in his last at-bat. That one's going to bounce over the fence, and it goes for a ground rule double. He's at second now for Cody Bellinger. Single into left. Happ looking to score. Ramos gets it out slowly. Really good throw. Had he gotten it out quicker, I think they would have potentially made a play there at the plate. These outfielders take way too long to get the ball out. 4-2, bottom three. Murakami sends it down the line for his second hit of the game. Suzuki with the throw to second. It's in time! Munetaka Murakami looking to be aggressive on the base pass, and it backfires. See, outfielders, that's how you get rid of the ball quickly. Into the fourth, another hit, this time Will Smith singles into right, and Robbie Ray's rough day continues. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Giants go to the pen soon if he continues to struggle. Pete Crow Armstrong gets that one by Murakami for a hit into left. But the runner at first thought it was going to be caught, so he's out at second. Elliot Ramos with the outfield assist. That time he did get the ball out quickly. Good play to quickly send it to second. Swanson swings and misses at the fastball. Ray gets through the inning. It remains 4-2 as we go to the bottom of the fourth. Jonathan India leads things off. He's ahead in the count to start 2-1. Got plunked last time. Looking to get revenge on Javier Assad as he sends it into right center for a base hit. Good start to the inning. San Francisco gets a runner aboard. We'll see if Elliot Ramos, who homered in his last at-bat, can do any damage. Pops this one into shallow right. Who is going for that baseball? It has a chance to drop, and it won't, as it's caught by Nico Horner. That should have been the first baseman's ball, though. Andrew Vaughn was by far the closest player to it. I'm surprised he didn't go for it. Trevor Larnach, another hit. He's now 6 for 7 on the year, continuing to hit the ball at a really high level. His average on the year is, I think, at like 857 or something. Is he going to keep it up? Probably not, but it's still cool to see as Peguero takes ball 2. That was in the zone. Looks like it should have been called strike 3. Peguero gets lucky. Good take. Count is even now. Checks his swing. Did he go around? Not quite. Another good take, although he thought about it there, wanting to be aggressive. Now the count is full here with 2 away. Peguero does not draw a ton of walks, so it's good to see him being a little bit more self-aware here. Gets a sinker right down the middle. That was your pitch, man. You got to take it. And unfortunately, he fouls it back. At least he's able to protect. That'll keep the at-bat going, and now the 3-2. Checks his swing. This time he does go around. And Javier Assad gets out of the inning. It remains 4-2. We go bottom 5. Cody Bellinger with 2 away up the middle. Nice play by Jonathan India for the third out of the inning as Robbie Ray retires the side. Yency Almonte comes out of the bullpen for Chicago, replacing Assad. Tommy Rogers, swing and miss on the slider to get things started for out number 1. 2 away for Munetaka Murakami. Did he go around? No, he reaches base once again, this time with a walk. So Murakami is aboard. Big at bat here for the catcher Blake Sabol. The 2-2. He gets a piece of this one, hits it high and deep into center. At the track, at the wall, it's caught. Nearly had enough carry to make it over, but Pete Crow Armstrong will grab it. And so it remains 4-2 as we move into the 6th. With Robbie Ray pitching pretty well over the last couple of innings, the Giants are going to keep him in the game. Against Will Smith, the 1-1 is 100th pitch of the game. Grounded to short. What a play by Peguero! Throw to first is in time. Another 1-2-3 inning for Robbie Ray. That'll do it for his night. 6 innings, 4 earned as we go to the bottom half of the frame with Mark Leiter Jr. coming in out of the bullpen for Chicago. 2.82 ERA this year. He'll start things off with Jonathan India, who has reached base twice himself. The 2-2 rips this one into left. That one was hit like a rocket. 112 off the bat for Jonathan India. And he is aboard. That'll bring up Trevor Larnach. He's 2 for 2 himself. And he swings and misses on the splitter. So the Cubs get out of the frame and we move into the 7th. Genesis Cabrera out of the bullpen here for San Francisco. Cabrera's been, other than Duvall, I would say, pretty comfortably the most consistent reliever on the team this year. 2.61 ERA in around 20 innings. Other than his first game where he allowed 3 runs, I think he's only allowed 3 runs since. He's been really good. Swanson with a bouncer to first. Toribio makes the play. 1-2-3 inning for Cabrera as we go bottom 7. Adbert Alzolay, the reigning National League reliever of the year, comes in. I'm not sure why he's no longer the closer, but okay, you do you, Chicago. They've won a lot of games, so I can't fault them. as Liover Peguero checks his swing. Went around. Full count here for Tommy Rogers. He draws a walk. That's what we love to see. Get Tommy on base, because when he does, he is a weapon. He just needs to walk more. Jung-Hoo Lee goes down looking on the slider. And then from there, the Cubs make another pitching change. Carl Edwards Jr. comes out of the pen. He'll face off against Munetaka Murakami. 1-2, 2 away. Got him looking on the fastball. Another strong inning here for the Chicago pitching staff. The San Francisco has not scored since the second. Let's move into the eighth now. Yariel Rodriguez comes out of the pen for San Francisco. Rodriguez certainly has not been as good as he was a year ago with Toronto. He hasn't necessarily been bad, per se, but I wouldn't say he's quite what we traded for, considering how much money he's making. But he does retire the side, strikes out Cody Bellinger. No base runners for Chicago since the fourth, but it might not matter. They lead 4-2. Here's Sabol, nearly homered earlier. This one's got a chance. At the track, at the wall, it's caught. That's 2 warning track shots for Sabol. If they each had a little bit more carry, this game's likely tied. But instead it remains 4-2. Full count now for Jonathan India. And he swings and misses at the slurve. Nice pitch by Edwards. Can he retire this side? Facing off against J.P. Crawford. Coming off the bench as a pinch hitter. The 3-1 takes ball 4. He's aboard. Huge opportunity now for Elliot Ramos. Hasn't done anything offensively since the home run back in the second. 2-2, runner aboard. Pops it up. Looks like Horner is under it. He'll make the play. Another scoreless inning, and it's still 4-2. Neither team has scored since the top of the third. We had so much offense early and then none over the last, 6 innings. A.J. Minter out of the pen now for the Giants. He has had a really rough month of June. The poster child for San Francisco's bullpen struggles after a great start to the year. He strikes out Suzuki, but Andrew Vaughn singles into center as Peguero is unable to make the play. A base runner here with 1 away for Chicago, their first since back in the 4th inning. 3-1 now for Will Smith. He draws a walk. And A.J. Minter once again not looking too hot as he lets up 2 early runners. That'll bring up Edward Olivares. Both runners go. Single in to left. Run scores, and it's 5-2. I get that Crawford knew he had to cover the base, but I wish he could have made a quicker play on the ball there at third. Could have forced an inning-ending double play, but instead, Chicago gets another run. They still have 2 on, and now Aniel De Los Santos comes out of the bullpen to replace A.J. Minter. PCA flies it into center. That should be more than enough room for the run to score off the sacrifice. Rogers gets it out quickly with a pretty good throw to the plate. But Vaughn will tag, and it's 6-2. The Cubs now lead by 4. Swanson goes down looking on the circle change, but a good inning for Chicago. They double their lead, and they're in prime position to stop San Francisco's win streak. Julian Merriweather comes into the game out of the bullpen. The Cubs don't even have to use their closer anymore since they're up by 4. Trevor Larnach is up. He's had a good game today. 2 for 3. Trying to make it 3 for 4, but Swanson has other plans. Throw to first is in time. What a play there at short by Swanson for out number 1. San Francisco now down to their final out and final strike. Swing and a miss from Rogers. His 3rd strikeout of the game, and that'll do it. The Cubs win it 6-2. They snap San Francisco's 6-game winning streak. And the Cubs take game 2 of 4 here at Old Oracle Park. The Cubs offense really wasn't that good. They started off hot, really did nothing through the middle of the game, but still, 6 runs is a lot. That should be enough to win you the game. Their pitching was really impressive. They allowed the 2 early homers to Murakami and Ramos to start, but no more runs scored after the second. Not a great showing from our offense. We had chances, we got some base runners, but we didn't do anything with them. Robbie Ray was okay. He wasn't good, but he wasn't bad. The bullpen as well was pretty mediocre, but I wouldn't say it was that bad. I think the offense is more so the reason why we lost. Let's simulate the rest of this series against the Cubs. Our 2 best pitchers against their 2 worst pitchers. And, well, sure enough, we had a lot of offense in both games. We lost the 3rd one 13-5. Logan Webb did not have a great day. The bullpen also was not particularly good. Webb ended up throwing 4 innings. He allowed 11 hits and 5 runs. And then the bullpen, per usual, was a train wreck. And defensively, we weren't too hot, with 2 more errors. We did win the last game 9-6. We had one of Aaron Savale's worst starts of the year, but it didn't matter. Homers for Sable and Piguero. 4 players drive in multiple runs, and Savale still gave us 6 innings. He just wasn't on his A game like usual. We have 3 more series left until the All-Star break. Cleveland, St. Louis, and Atlanta. As it stands now, we are in first place by 4.5 games. The Dodgers continue to drop in the standings. This series against Atlanta could be a big one, as we have the same record as them, right in the mix for the 1 seed with the Cubs, and obviously the Dodgers, assuming they get back on track. Let's introduce ourselves to this draft class, though. We have not gone through these prospects yet, and I'm excited to take a look. Today we're going to go through the pitchers. In the next episode, we are going to go through the hitting prospects. As you guys know, my general rule of thumb is not to draft pitching early because there's usually more depth here than position players, but I still want to leave my options open. I think there are some intriguing top-end pitchers here, and then down the board, some really good players as well. Milo Superior looks like the best pitcher in this draft. I think he will go in the top 3, and I think he should. I think he looks really impressive. He's not a guy we're going to get our hands on, unfortunately. If he drops to our pick, there's a good chance we're going to pick him. Christopher Hinson looks to be a little bit underwhelming, but I really like Vince Vernon. I think he goes in the top 10. I'd be very surprised if he falls to our pick, so we're not going to look into him super closely. But this group of 4 all could be options for us in the first round if we decide to not follow our philosophies and go for a high-end pitching prospect, and that starts with Mackenzie Torres, an 18-year-old hailing from Germany. The walks per 9 is the biggest thing, and that's the biggest strength of his game. He also keeps the ball in the park. Doesn't let up long balls. He throws decently hard. I wish he had a little bit more nasty stuff on his pitches, but he does have a solid 4-pitch mix. I want to see him get a little bit more control of the fastball, but he does throw pretty hard, topping at 97. David Aguila, another talented international option, hailing from Puerto Rico. The walks per 9 are his biggest strength. That's good. His hits per 9 is his biggest weakness. That's not so good. Our scouts do view him as a top 5 pitcher in the class, though. A 5-pitch mix. He doesn't really have a set fastball, but he does have a cutter that tops out at 94, and he's got some nasty off-speed stuff. Ian Averill, I think, could be an intriguing option as well. He's a high school arm. We have followed him through the USA baseball program over the last couple of years. This guy throws hard. He strikes out a lot of batters. Maybe not necessarily our type of pitching prospect, but this kid's a grown man. He looks the part at 6'4", 240. He's got a 5-pitch mix. Fastball tops at 97. He's got a nasty splitter. One of the best individual pitches in this class. And then Mark Ibar from the Dominican Republic, the highest graded pitcher, according to our scouts, of the guys we just went over, and the second highest graded pitcher to them in the entire class. In terms of pure talent, he might be our best choice, 16 overall. Walks per 9 looks really good. Hits per 9, quite solid. He's a little bit smaller, 5'10", 172, but he's got an intriguing skill set and will absolutely be in play for us in the first round. As we look down the board, we've got a guy named Elmo. That's kind of funny. I think the top depth pitchers after the first round are all college arms. That starts with Tim Cullen, who might be the most pro-ready player regardless of position in the entire class. The righty from Clemson is somebody who I believe can be a major league starter right away. And for a team like us, who doesn't really have a set 5th starter next year with Robbie Ray on the last year of his deal, this could be a really good high floor pick. He only has 3 pitches though, doesn't have a lot of off-speed stuff, and only tops out at 91. I feel like the ceiling with him is really low. He's going to peak pretty much immediately as like a 5th starter, but for a team like us who's contending and might want a win-now option, he might not be a bad choice for a team like us, who's looking to go on some playoff runs. Blake McGinnis from Oregon State's intriguing, 6'5", 223 pounds, a 22-year-old lefty arm. He's been one of the best lefties in college baseball this year. Jack of all trades, master of none. I think he could be a good choice in the second round. Further down the board, somebody who I'm a little bit more confident will fall to us in round 2 is Keo Burton from LSU. He's kind of in the same reign as some of these other college arms, but I think he's got a little bit less upside than Blake McGinnis, and I think he's a little bit less pro-ready than Tim Cullen. But he's not too far behind either of those guys as players. The LSU Tigers certainly could be an option for us with our first second rounder or the compensatory pick we got from the Diamondbacks. Now, again, he only has 3 pitches. He only tops at 89, and the off-speed stuff doesn't look great. So again, I think the ceiling with him is lower, but he's a guy who could compete to be a starter pretty early on. I think compared to the other years, I don't like the depth in terms of pitching as much. I don't think we're going to find another Scott Rios here, unfortunately. There is one guy, though, who's projected outside of the top 100 who I would keep my eye on, and that's 18-year-old Chip Gilmore from Australia. Our scouts seem to be really high on him. Could be an option for us in, say, the 3rd or 4th round. So that does it for the pitchers in this class. Next episode, we're going to take a look at the hitting prospects to try to figure out what we should do at pick 16 in the first round, along with the rest of our picks, including the extra selection we got for losing Blake Snell. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.